Hello, I'm Rich from Indiana LTAP, and welcome to Tailgate Talks. Today we're going to talk about inspecting your snowplow. Today's modern snowplows are amazing examples of engineering. They're more durable than ever before, and we're pushing them with heavier, more powerful equipment. So let's walk through the pre-trip inspection on our snowplow. We have here today a truck from the city of Crawfordsville. Make sure before we do any inspection that the truck is in park or neutral and the parking brake is set. If you have somebody in the cab, make sure they know you're working around the plow and they're not to touch the controls. When I do this, sometimes I'll look at the driver and they'll put their hands up so I know that they're not touching the controls. And we want to start with the plow on the ground. So I'm going to start with the top of the plow, and I'm going to make sure I look for my snow deflector, any bolts or cracks on the top edge of the plow. I'm going to go down and inspect the entire top edge of the plow, the ribs. I'm looking for cracks, missing pieces, missing bolts, or anything like that. I also want to make sure that I have my edge deflectors, my plow end markers. I want to make sure they're there. I want to make sure they're secure and they're not going to break off while I'm out there. If they're damaged, we want to replace those before we leave. They're incredibly helpful when trying to make sure we find the edge of our plow when we're in tight spaces or in subdivisions. So after I look at the top edge and if everything's in good working order, I'm then going to move underneath and look at my plow blade. There's a lot to look for here. This is the part of the plow that's really taking the beating when we're out on the road. So the first thing I want to look at is if that plow blade is cracked, damaged, or any missing bolts. Missing bolts are a common occurrence, and we want to make sure before we leave that we have all them bolts on there. One tip with the plow bolts, if you're losing a lot of plow bolts, that I would suggest is making sure that they're all tightened but not over torqued. And make sure that all the bolts are tightened evenly. It's probably more important that you get them tightened evenly than getting them over tightened. So after we make sure we have no cracks on the blade, all our bolts are in place, no missing pieces, the blade's in good position, we're also going to look here for plow blade wear. We want to make sure that we have enough blade to handle the next few events. If you're not sure, here's where you're going to ask your foreman, supervisor, or crew leader, hey, take a look at my blade, do I have enough? If we're running low, if our blade's getting close to the moldboard, we're going to want to change that before any bad weather sets in. One of the biggest things we want to look at is called angle of attack of the plow. So what we want to look at is right here is the angle of the blade to the ground. As you can see here, the angle of this plow is at about 0 degrees, meaning it's more straight up and down. So this plow here will actually trip a little easier than most. The more we angle that blade back this way or increase the angle of attack, the more aggressive the plow is and the harder it's going to trip. Now remember, if that angle is too far back, beyond 7 degrees, that plow, when it hits an object, will want to launch upward and over to release that energy. That means the driver's going to feel more of that impact, and the truck will feel more of that impact. And your plow will tend to jump as it trips. As this plow edge trips, you're going to see the plow jump. That means you have too aggressive an angle. When we stand this plow up more closer to a 0 degree, like you see here on this plow is going to trip a little easier, you'll have less jumping, and as a driver or operator, you'll feel that impact a little less. This adjustment is different on all plows, but typically we'll make this adjustment in the back of the plow, on the plow springs, or on the plow mounting, where we'll take this plow and stand it up or lean it forward to adjust that angle of attack. This is a great thing to check often. If you notice your plow is jumping when it trips more, you may be more aggressive. If your plow is tripping too easy for you, you may be straight up and down or too far forward. Now remember, if you have a trip edge plow where the edge of the plow trips, not the moldboard, then that angle is going to act a little different. Those typically set more straight up and down. But if you have a full trip moldboard plow, that angle of attack is really important and can help adjust how that plow responds for you when you're using it. So now that we're around the back of the plow, this gives us an opportunity to look where the plow frame connects to the plow. So what I'm looking for back here is cracks, missing bolts, busted pieces. I'm making sure I have a good attachment between the plow frame and the plow. Also, this is the opportunity for me to look at my plow shoes or plow wheels, depending on what you're using, to make sure they're in good working order, they're set where we want them, and there's no loose parts or missing parts that may cause a problem when we're out on the road. Another great opportunity here is to make sure our plow chains or cables are set and in good working order. If you're using a plow cable, you want to make sure it's not frayed or coming apart. And you want to, if you're using a plow chain, you want to make sure your chain's in good working order. Look for stretched links. If you have an issue or if you see something and you're not sure about it, this is where we ask somebody who knows or somebody who can give us advice on what looks like it may be a problem later. You're also, if you have a reversible plow or a power reversing plow, you're going to want to take a good look at your lower plow cylinders for damage, busted hoses, or any leaks, either at a hose or the plow cylinder. If you notice a leak or notice maybe a bent ram, this is where you're going to want to have somebody take a look at it. That's definitely going to cause you a problem when you get on the road. So as we go through the plow frame, we check for leaks, we check for pins, we're in good shape. We're going to move back a little bit and start looking at the plow frame. Now keep in mind, your plow frame is what's holding the plow to the truck and what's taking any impacts you have. And kind of remember, as your plow, whether you have a one-way or power reversing, that plow takes its impact from objects on the road at a very low angle. And that force comes through the plow frame and into the bottom part of the hitch. So here's where you may notice that the hitch, actually right here, as it gets impacted at the bottom by the plow, you'll see it come forward. So as I'm looking at this hitch, I'm looking for any missing pieces or parts, but I'm also looking for any cracks on the back here where you're noticing that plow hitch pulling forward, or on the bottom where it's being impacted in, or any bent pieces, busted bolts. I would check very carefully underneath here, underneath this plow frame, for any missing bolts or any damaged bolts or bent pieces. This is a good time to look at it. Kind of remember, the more you look at it, the more you know what to look for. Over time, you're going to notice something different. So remember, being safe, looking at our trucks often goes a long way to helping us be safe out on the road, to make us safe and to make those around us safe. This has been a Tailgate safety message from Indiana LTAP. Thanks for joining us. And remember, be safe, work safe, drive safe. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you out on the road. LTAP is 10-8.